Okay, good morning. We are freaking back. It's been a week and a half. I've had quite a journey since then, but I've been looking forward to this call and to share some of my uh, realizations and my new, I guess don't want to say awakenings, but my rememberings. I feel like a lot has lifted off of the heaviness that I've been experiencing. And back to clarity, back to peace. And yes, welcome everyone. So today we are going to resume on chapter 12, section 3. This section is called the investment in reality with a capital R. And so this chapter, I feel like it's just the title itself is pretty powerful. What are we actually investing into? And I've also been thinking about learning and teaching A Course in Miracles, and this past couple months, what I've been going through with my wife, and really embodying. And I feel like the Course talks about the fastest way to learn is to teach, and through teaching, at some point, the learning becomes embodied, and and it becomes, you no longer have to learn it. I made a post today on Facebook, and it's not about memorizing or learning the philosophies of A Course in Miracles. It's not about getting all of it right. Sometimes we fall back. We fall back into our ego, into our automatics. So it's not really about all of that, but those things help us unfold or undo all the things that keep us from truth. So we can actually develop a great relationship to it. We can develop a relationship to these lessons, to these teachings, rather than judging it and shaming it and feeling guilt around it. We can shift the way that we look at it, the way that we perceive it. And the problem with the ego is that the ego always wants our knowledge to stay intellectual. It wants to keep this teachings, all of this stuff from A Course in Miracles or anything else, as something that we talk about rather than something that we live. And then when we actually live those lessons, we beat ourselves up because we think intellectually we should be further along. And so we shame and guilt ourselves even more. We judge ourselves even more. And so true learning is not about accumulation of knowledge. It's not about knowing more things. It's about transforming ourselves inside. It's about becoming transformed. So maybe at first we have to study this material. Then we have to practice this material. There is a learning curve of mastery. In the beginning of mastery, when you learn something new, the efforts that you put in is high and the returns are actually kind of low. And then you get to a point where the effort is high and the return is high. And this is where actually both of those two stages are usually where people quit. People want to go find something else and accumulate something new and try to learn something new, and then goes through that same learning curve again. But following that high effort, high return is low effort, high return. See, that's when we start to truly begin that mastery phase, actually. We start to experience that, oh, I actually know what it is that I'm studying. I know what I'm practicing. Right? Anything. It could be the guitar. In the beginning, when I played the guitar, it was so hard to even hum while I was playing. It was high effort, really low returns. Then it was high effort, high returns, and I felt proud of myself. Then at some point you can become almost embodied into it. You don't even have to think and play. It's the same as what we're doing with the Course in Miracles here. So we remind ourselves daily, the Course says remind yourself daily, that love is the only reality. So this chapter, this section today here is the investment in reality. Reality is love only. It's not love sometimes, right? So we try to forgive and other times we resist, right? Or we try to see the innocence, the Christ consciousness in somebody, and then other times judgment creeps in. Or we try to love and we want to stay on Love Island and we get booted off Love Island, we think. And it's fine, right? But the more we surrender to those experiences, allowing those experiences are the process in which embodiment starts to happen. So the more we allow, the more we don't force, the more these teachings shape our perception, something else begins to shift, right? And that's the point where we really talk about mastery. We become A Course in Miracles. Mastery isn't about knowing more of something. It's about being more. It's the difference between understanding forgiveness and becoming forgiveness. You guys can feel the difference? Understanding forgiveness is what we're doing on these calls to create awareness. Becoming forgiveness is when the application happens in the world. It's the moment where you don't have to remind yourself to choose love, and you don't have to remind yourself not to judge anymore. You just become that. It becomes your natural state. Go ahead, Fraser.
Is anybody else seeing Nelson's whiteboard?
Nelson's whiteboard.
Okay.
Why is that on?
I'm sorry, this is a mess. I'm trying to figure out how to delete them. My apologies.
Why is that on? Are you sharing or something?
I have no idea, brother. A button got pressed here. I'm getting it out.
I thought it was Alex. I'm like, wow, we're really bringing the board.
I couldn't unmute myself. I couldn't find my mute button. I'm looking at this whiteboard. I'm like, what did I do? How did I do this?
Sorry, guys. I'll figure it out. Love you, bro. Thanks.
Is it still on?
No, it's gone now.
Oh, it's so weird. I can't see it. Zoom is super weird.
Hey, Nelson, did you like that heart I drew on there?
No, I was focusing on how to get this out. I didn't know what was happening. I'm trying to put my photo in here so when I'm not on camera, it's not black. So anyways, don't worry. I was trying to chat GBT while I was just talking. I'm here. Love you guys. My apologies, guys.
The multitasking. So where were we? We're talking about turning things into mastery. Well, it's not about knowing more. Mastery is not about perfection. It's not about accumulating more knowledge. It's about becoming that. It's really about realizing that the value of what the ego has to offer is not truly valuable. That we no longer have to believe in those thought systems today. So then the question becomes, where are we trying to study truth? Where are we trying to study something rather than allowing something to flow through you? The final step is not about learning something. The final step is about becoming, is about embodiment. When you finally fully surrender to what's already true, then you no longer have to keep practicing. You can just start being. So as we introduce this chapter here, the investment in reality, the Course says that we are both student and teacher. We learn, we practice, we try to forgive, we try to see beyond illusions, and some days are easy and other days the ego fights us like crazy. And we're sad and we judge ourselves and all of that stuff happens. And yeah, and it's easier some days than others. But it's not about fighting it. It's about surrendering to that experience and allowing it to be embodied. Shifting from learning to living. Yeah, so it's not about the theory of all this stuff, right? It's not about intellectually understanding forgiveness. Yeah, what we do is we intellectually learn A Course in Miracles and we understand forgiveness from the mind place, but still we're holding on to grievances. The ego wants us to understand love, but not surrender to love. And the Course actually says that love requires you to be full in, not 1 foot in, 1 foot out. It's not enough to just dip our toes into truth while still keeping another foot in the illusions. At some point, we have to go all in. That there's not love sometimes, that there's love only. We cannot serve two masters. We can't keep seeking peace while we're protecting the fears. And the Course says that to learn this Course, there's a line in the Course that says, to learn this Course requires willingness to question every value that you hold. All that you are, the identity of you, is an idea to be let go of. What are we still holding on to that is not real? If we want truth, we must invest into it fully. So the section today is Chapter 12, Section 3, the investment in reality. Okay, so I am going to open. The second opening is, of course, Marianne Williamson's A Year of Miracles, and we'll just find something here. Oh, beautiful, perfect. Flipped it open. Day 265. On knowing what we want already exists. Perfect. The Bible's adage, blessed are those who have faith and cannot see, means empowered are those who remember there is a truer truth, even when circumstances tempt them to believe otherwise. When a pilot cannot see the horizon because of the low visibility, he or she doesn't assume that the horizon has disappeared. At a time of low visibility, the pilot flies on instruments that can gauge a situation more clearly than he or she can. Faith is like flying on instruments. It's acting on the assumption that just because you can't see a possibility at the moment doesn't mean that it's not there. It's easy enough to have faith in God's infinite abundance when we have millions of dollars sitting in the bank. It's easy enough to have faith in love when we're receiving a lot of it. And it's easy enough to have faith in the power of peace when there is no war. But when it's hard to have faith is when we need it the most. By faith, we bring forth what we want, by knowing that it already exists in a realm we cannot yet see. Wow, okay, well, that section's got to go into my book somewhere. So I will mark it there. We have 2 people coming in. Welcome, everyone. Okay, so I love to open it up for anyone that wants to share anything coming through. Ah, look at that. Nelson's ahead of the game. What's up, Nelson?
Brother, good morning. Thank you for being on. Good morning, everyone. Al, many times you have reference to, and some aspect of me takes like a little resistance to when you say, if you had, what was that? What's that phrase that you said?
Had you have faith, you wouldn't need a miracle.
You wouldn't need a miracle. Okay. And then and other times, I believe that I've heard faith, right? Things hoped for but unseen,
Mm-hmm.
right? Full assurance in the heart, faith, right? But unseen in the world. But if you had enough faith, you wouldn't need a miracle. Interesting.
Mm-hmm. Just think about this example right here with the pilot flying on instruments, right? He can't see. Visibility is low. You're flying through the clouds. Had you had these instruments, you don't need the miracle of, oh my God, I made it through these clouds safely. The instruments that he's putting all of his faith in is there. So you see that analogy.
Faith is for who, Alex? Because the consciousness within me, yak, you already know. I know that I know, right? When I remember, when I'm aware. Faith
Do
is
you?
for who? Well, I'm not an enlightened man all the time.
Faith is not.
When
Yeah,
I get
yeah.
those glimpses of like all is well, faith is not required. I completely surrender to what is. But like you say, it only comes at certain peaks. Like you say, you come to believe, right? You bring the body. Faith comes from hearing and hearing and hearing, right? About infinite miracles, because either all's a miracle or nothing's a miracle. So everything's a miracle to me in my mind, right? So if you had faith, you wouldn't need a miracle. Everything's a miracle. Anyways, just a play on words. It's all good. I just want to know exactly what your interpretation of faith was. What is your interpretation of faith for me, or based on A Course in Miracles? Can you help me with that? If you had faith the size of a mustard seed, you could tell that mountain to move, and it would move. So what is that power? Could you please, and thank you.
So let's just go through a couple steps, a couple phases of faith. And then maybe through this, we can help all of us identify and become clearer about what faith really is. Because, yeah, we know, we're like, oh, yeah, faith. I know faith. But yeah, it's good. Let's truly identify what this thing is, you know? And faith is, so level 1 of faith is, I think God's got my back. Right? I think God has my back, but I'm not super sure. I think God is creating all of these things in this world, but I'm kind of not sure. Maybe he creates this, but not this. Maybe some people are good and some people are evil. Maybe God made a mistake there. So then that's the first introduction level to faith. Sometimes there's love, sometimes there's not. Sometimes God exists. I don't know. God sometimes is here. Sometimes there's evidence that God exists and there's evidence that God doesn't exist. That's one form of faith, right? It's selective. You are still running it through your brain and your mind.
Yeah, your filters of God, yes.
Yes. And what you know about eternity and the world and all the things is like a tiny little speck, right? So moving on to the second phase is actually recognizing that you know so little that how can you even rely on your own perceptions and understanding? So then you get to this place where it's, I believe, right? The second phase, I believe, and I'm speaking it all the time because I know intellectually, I believe. We're walking through the steps of learning again, right? At first, we're just like unsure. Then we start teaching it because I believe. I believe God exists. I believe God's got my back. I believe that God created everything and there are no accidents in his plans. There are no mishaps. There's no miscreations. That everyone created, no matter how evil we think they are, is a perfect creation of love and God. Okay, so I believe that. That's phase 2. And then phase 3, I know with absolute certainty. There is no shaking of it anymore. See, that I know with absolute certainty means I don't need miracles, because miracles are a shift from I hope and I don't know to I know. That's a miracle. A miracle is a shift from fear to love, from uncertainty to certainty. Does that make sense? That's a miracle. A miracle is not something grand. It's not Gandhi, Mother Teresa miracles. That's what we think in our mind. But again, we know so little and we know nothing. Love, to return our mind to a place of love. We've all felt, oh man, I can't believe I'm here again. I can't believe we got into this fight. I can't believe our communication is so shit again. I can't believe I messed up again. Right? All the things that I can't believe. And we beat ourselves up. But there's a moment that comes back where like, I could never return to love. My wife and I used to get into these fights. And I'm like, yep, that's it. It's done. There is no freaking way. We've gone too far. There is no way we're ever returning to love. See, I need a miracle. I need a miracle because I actually lost faith right there. Right? I don't believe anymore. I don't know. I don't think I can. See, but that last space that I'm talking about, the last faith where we embody faith, is I know with absolute certainty. That means the The conflict itself doesn't even enter into my mind because I trust so much. My faith in God and love exists so much. So I've fully stepped into it. I'm no longer serving two masters. I'm serving one master. I'm serving love and I'm serving God. That is it. And all of God's creations. Every rock, every tree, every animal, everything. And I just become an instrument. And in that, I know my place. I know who I am. But oftentimes we don't. We forget who we are. We think we're just a brother. We think we're just a mother, a father, a wife, a husband, a real estate investor, an ACIM teacher. Every single thing that you think you are is limiting you so much. You must undo all of those. So those are the 3 phases, 3 steps in understanding love and mastering faith. So had you have faith, miracles are not required. The point of miracles is to return faith to you. Make sense?
Thank you, Alex. For me, may I share something on that topic?
Yeah. I actually need to listen to that again myself. That was epic.
That was epic. That was epic. On many occasions, like you say, at certain times in my life, certain periods of my life, that faith was like with anticipation, uncertain anticipation of what's gonna wonder, and then I had a certain thing that I would like to happen in mind, right? When I somehow throughout and this came through time for me, right? Faith comes from hearing, seeing it again. Like, no matter what I wanted in life, whatever did show up in my, I've been a rascal. I've done, and nothing. It's always been like such a, whatever's happened to me, I end up in a blessed place. Like, what? All that turmoil, and yet here I am. So I have a little phrase for myself. I say, how dare I doubt? How dare that little ego of mine doubts? I know it's a job to doubt. That's why I was created there, right? To forget. So then when the spirit awakens from this 3D reality that we came to experience, duality, right? That without faith, there could be no regret, all that stuff, all that duality. So it's been a beautiful experience, and just shorten those moments, like you say, by being in these classes, right? And being around people like you that share that beautiful energy, that faith that all is well. The point I wanted to get to was in those moments that I've been at my highest, there's always been a need for faith, like for the ego, like uncertainty exists, right? I heard somebody say, what we need most in life is certainty, and then right after that, we need uncertainty. Because certainty is that of the gods, and then we need uncertainty to keep things interesting. But for me, even in those moments of uncertainty, I'm at where I'm at today, and you always say, how's your heart, brother? My heart is at peace, because I have seen so much, everything just work out, that there is no doubt. It may require faith, the size of a mustard seed for the ego, but it's there. So thank you.
Yeah. And don't forget, like, to really honor the feeling and the experiences and the things that you go through. That's the embodiment process. So certainty is one thing. Uncertainty, the purpose of uncertainty is to serve certainty. The purpose of forgetting is to strengthen remembering. Right? So all the pains and all the fights and all the arguments and whatever your heart's going through, whatever you think it is, if you, and this is something that I've kind of been learning recently myself too, is you don't need to bypass it. Right? There's a tendency to want to bypass a lot of things using intellectuals. Since the Vedic session that we had with Samsara on this call, I've been learning a lot about my karma is I escaped the body, the earth realm experience, into the heavenly. Right? I'm constantly trying to disconnect from my body to go to a different realm of seeing and being. And this shows up in my business. This shows up everywhere. I am just a visionary. I can not build anything, right? But actually, the dissolving of my karma requires me to actually understand and embody it. And the only way to embody it is to actually be here with Mother Earth in this body, right? Remembering God, but still here, right? I'm in this body. Like, I just need to surrender to it. Somehow I wasn't surrendering to it. I was still chasing and seeking information. Oh yeah, intellectually I get all this. Until your heart gets broken and you can't help yourself and just cry, right? The heartbroken is unnecessary. You don't have to be heartbroken. But if you fight it so much so, it will create it for you. And so then what's the purpose and the point of heartbreaks? What's the purpose and the point of all the relationships, of all the places that we've placed our love and made God of those things? You can understand it intellectually, but you live in the body. And yes, on some level, we are not our bodies. On another level, we are. So we're learning and teaching A Course in Miracles. And the lessons with the people in our lives is to teach us how to embody the teachings. How to walk this earth as a light, a beacon of light, a reminder for our brothers and sisters only. Every word that comes out of your mouth, every action, every business that you create, every investment that you make. Can you see them all as an opportunity to extend love and to help your brothers and sisters remember who they actually are? Be a beacon of light wherever you walk. It would take a lot of embodying of the teachings of the Course. And we know we don't need to seek truth anywhere else. Else. Elf? Anywhere else? Okay, well, that just interrupted my thoughts. Go ahead, Jessica. I blabbered on a long time.
No, I love your shares. They're so vulnerable and authentic. There's no, what's coming up for me and with Nelson's comments is that I know that there's intellectually, I love the way that you're separating it, because that definitely is a separation between intellectually what you know in your mind and what you feel in your heart. I know that there's the inside of me lives God and my ego as well. All right, and I also know intellectually that I know that there also is that at any given moment when things show up, I have a choice to make. You know, I could either choose love and believe love, or choose fear. You know, or choose fear. So my question to you, which is probably the question of the whole universe, is how? First of all, I guess, how does the ego have that much power? Why is it? It seems like, why can't, you know, what is it? Why is it that we will always in humanity? It seems like everybody, we seem to always want to go to fear first. Why? It's like built in. Why is that the norm? Why is that the what we are go to, as opposed to, because we have both inside of us. We have the power to choose at any point what side, whether we listen to the ego, we listen to God. What makes us, you know, judging by the state of the world and how much suffering is going on in the world by most of us that are not even begun to do this work? Why is it that the ego always decides, and we live basically mainly out of fear instead of out of love?
Well, do you feel at times, we've all had this experience where we're driving or we're doing something and our mind just slips somewhere else. And I'm like, wait, how did I get here? Or actually the other day, we went to an outlet mall. I parked the car, walked to the store, and then I don't know what we were doing, but I have no recollection of where the parking deck even was or where I parked my car in the deck. We're walking around. I'm like, wait, this doesn't even look familiar. And then we end up finding my car. Like, I have no idea that we walked across this bridge thing to get to the mall thing. And where was our mind? And so the Course also says when you have to actively try to figure out how to choose love, it's because you're sleepwalking. And the Course mentions that in the Bible, Adam fell into a deep sleep. But nowhere does it ever say that he woke up. So if this was all a dream, then there are states, there are times where we are completely clear and aligned and we remember clearly. And then there are moments that we don't. The practice for us here is, can we not judge? The ego is going to create confusion. The ego doesn't care if you choose what's right or what's wrong, as long as you choose. Right? So think about your judgment. Let's take somebody, for example. Let's take Donald Trump. This seems to be a good topic to keep talking about these days.
How did I know you were going to pick that guy?
Because it irks you. That's why I'm picking it. So some of us think, oh man, Trump's the man. Other of us think, I can't fucking believe this is the president of our country. I can't believe this person even exists in this world. Right? The ego does not care who you choose. The ego only cares that you make a choice. Evil, bad, good. As long as you pick one, it means you imply that the other one exists. And that's all the ego cares about. Now, how do you go beyond this game? The investment in reality. That's the chapter today. The investment in reality. Because reality with a capital R is neither of the choices that you made. Because if you don't make one of those choices, then where would confusion even come from? Because the question becomes, is it love sometimes, or is it love always? If it's love always, would there even be questions? But since it's love sometimes for us, then we are completely unsure all the time. Because the evidence that we find to support us from moment to moment is so contradictory all the time. Just think about science. Think about the stuff that we are like, oh, this is good for your body. This is terrible for you. Oh, that causes cancer. Oh, wait, no, that's actually good for you. Oh, wait, no, it actually causes cancer. I mean, how confusing can this world possibly be when we operate like that? So my point was, what was my point? There was a point in there somewhere. But you guys get it, right? The investment in reality is beyond the need to choose, beyond the guilt, beyond the shame, beyond the judgments. It's to know that we can't even make a judgment. Not that we shouldn't, but that we're not even capable. What basis do we have to judge? That's what the Course is challenging us with. Do you know where your judgment would, how it would affect every single person? Do you actually know that your actions, that your actions and your decision and your judgment benefits all of humanity? Do you know that for certain? Okay, not only all of humanity today, but all of humanity in the past and into the future forever. How can you possibly know? This is why the Course, in the beginning of the workbook for the Course, says, you do not perceive your own best interest. Man, if this investment could just make me $1 million, that would be in the best interest of me and everyone that exists ever. Really? That's what you think? Or, if I lose this money, then that's the end for me and my family and everyone that exists ever and forever. Really? Seriously? That's literally how we're literally like 2-year-olds. Thinking that we know it all. Right? The embodying, the mastery. Right? There is the learning. We're just intellectually talking about stuff right now. Maybe you agree, you don't agree, whatever. It doesn't matter. But the embodiment is, do you want to embody peace? That's it. Do you want peace in your life? Do you want happiness in your life? Then you must decide if that is what you will invest into. So, Fraser, go ahead.
First off, wow, amazing what you just said. But I wanted to say something really quickly. When you were talking about the belief and the different levels of belief there, you know,
Of faith.
a lot of people, yeah, and faith, yeah. But what I found in that wasn't just the beauty of what you were saying, but there's a song in there.
Oh.
There's lyrics in there.
I
So
am
when
writing
you
songs
get a
these
chance
days.
to look back at that, when you take a look at that, because I was just like, I started writing stuff down right away. I was just like, oh my god, that's so creative. Like, boom, just mic drop.
I gotta go back. I don't really remember what I said, but thanks. I like that.
Good. It was good.
Eric is here. Eric is great at writing songs. Should put him on the spot and sing us a song at some point. Okay. Was that it? To remind me that there is a song in there?
Yes, my friend, yes.
Okay. All right. Okay. I'm tasking myself and Eric to work on this. All right. Other thoughts? By the way, guys, when Eric's album comes out, get ready. Because the world is going to change when that album is out. All right, so we're going to go into the reading. Oh, did you want to say something, Eric? Were you about to sing for us? You just went muted.
Thank you so much for that acknowledgement. That's very kind. I owe all my inspiration to this beautiful community. And all of you.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, and my little sister, Tasnova. They are amazing. Okay. Are we ready? Are we ready? Are we ready to actually hear what the course has to say? All right. Well, let me just check messages. All right. Looks good. Chapter 12, Section 3. Remember that it doesn't matter if this is your first chapter coming back into. I know some people have studied the course and have, tried to get back into it. And they're like, oh man, Alex, you're on chapter 12. It does not matter. Every chapter, every section, every paragraph, every sentence, they are all saying really the same thing. And it's always exactly what you need to hear, exactly what I need to hear. But let's remove any thoughts that we have, anything that's running through our mind right now. And if able to, perhaps do some chat GPTing later and see if we can bring presence to the words that come out of my mouth. See if we can bring presence to give ourselves just 5-7 minutes of just being still. Not needing to run from one thing to the next. Because we don't do that enough, It's like the moment that we get still, we pick up our phone. But when we get still, we got to do something. And to see if we can just be with ourselves here, be together in this way. And all that you think you know, all that you judge, let's in our mind's eye, wrap it all up and put it aside. We can go back to it later. If you want it, you can go play with that later. But we'll put everything aside and we'll bring ourselves to the present moment of what this chapter is going to open up. And let's set an intention that whatever it is, that this moment here and now changes us forever. Chapter 12, Section 3, the investment in reality. I once asked you to sell all that you have and give to the poor and follow me. This is what I meant. If you have no investment in anything in this world, you can teach the poor where their treasure is. The poor are merely those who have invested wrongly, and they are poor indeed. Because they are in need, it is given you to help them, since you are among them. Consider how perfectly your lesson would be learned if you were unwilling to share their poverty. For poverty is lack, and there is but one lack, since there is but one need. Suppose a brother insists on having you do something you think you do not want to do. His very insistence should tell you that he believes salvation lies in it. If you insist on refusing and experience a quick response of opposition, you are believing that your salvation lies in not doing it. This is a freaking epic line right here. Okay. Want no pen? I have no pen here. Okay, I'll underline it later, I guess. What? Hold on. Pause. All right. So suppose my pen would have ink. That would be great. Maybe I'm not supposed to underline this. All right, screw it. Suppose a brother insists on having you do something you think you do not want to do. His very insistence should tell you that he believes salvation lies in it. If you insist on refusing and experience a quick response of opposition, you are believing that your salvation lies in not doing it. You then are making the same mistake he is and are making his error real to both of you. Insistence means investment. And what you invest in is always related to your notion of salvation. The question is always twofold. First, what is to be saved? And second, how can it be saved? Whenever you become angry with a brother, for whatever reason, or your partner, or your wife, or your girlfriend, you are believing that the ego is to be saved and to be saved by attack. If he attacks you, you are agreeing with this belief. And if you attack, you are reinforcing it. Remember that those who attack are poor. Their poverty asks for gifts, not for further impoverishment. You, who could help them, are surely acting destructively if you accept their poverty as yours. If you had not invested as they had, it would never occur to you to overlook their need. Recognize what does not matter. And if your brother asks you for something outrageous, do it because it does not matter. Refuse, and your opposition establishes that it does matter to you. Wow, this is going to be a tough one. It is only you, therefore, who have made the request outrageous, and every request of a brother is for you. Why would you insist in denying him? For to do so is to deny yourself and impoverish both. He is asking for salvation as you are. Poverty is of the ego and never of God. No quote unquote outrageous request can be made of one who recognizes what is valuable and wants to accept nothing else. Salvation is for the mind, and it is attained through peace. That means you guys are grasping what this section is talking about right here, because the ego will want to deny what this section is talking about, right? No, what do you mean? Somebody's going to ask me to kick a dog, or you know, you guys can think of worse things. So I'm supposed to say yes? See, that's the ego wanting to create something, some other sort of conflict to create confusion here. But if you can rise above that ego part and listen to this, there are no outrageous requests that can be made of the one who recognizes what is valuable and wants to accept nothing else. If you were purely in a state of love, do you think that question would even come through to you? Right? Because you value the opposite, that creates that invitation for it. Salvation is for the mind, and it is attained through peace. This is the only thing that can be saved and the only way to save it. Any response other than love arises from a confusion about the what and the how of salvation. This is the only answer. Never lose sight of this, and never allow yourself to believe, even for an instant, that there is another answer. For you will surely place yourself among the poor who do not understand that they dwell in abundance, and that salvation is come. To identify with the ego is to attack yourself and make yourself poor. That is why everyone who identifies with the ego feels deprived. What he experiences then is depression or anger, because what he did was to exchange self-love for self-hate, making him afraid of himself. He does not realize this. Even if he is fully aware of anxiety, he does not perceive its source as his own ego identification, and he always tries to handle it by making some sort of insane arrangement with the world. He always perceives this world as outside of himself. This is crucial to his adjustment. He does not realize that he makes this world, for there is no world outside of him. If only the loving thoughts of God's Son are the world's reality, the real world must be in his mind. His insane thoughts, too, must be in his mind, but an internal conflict of this magnitude he cannot tolerate. A split mind is endangered, and the recognition that it encompasses completely opposes thoughts within itself is intolerable. Therefore, the mind projects the split, not the reality. Everything you perceive as the outside world, is merely your attempt to maintain your ego identification. For everyone believes that identification is salvation. If I had more of this, if I just had this, if I could be this, if that, right? Yet, consider what has happened. For thoughts do have consequences to the thinker. You have become at odds with the world as you perceive it, because you think it is antagonistic to you. This is a necessary consequence of what you have done. You have projected outwards what is oh my God, I can't say this word. Antagonist to what is inward, and therefore would have to perceive it this way. That is why you must realize that your hatred is in your mind and not outside it, because you can get rid of it. And why you must get rid of it before you can perceive the world as reality is. I said before that God so loved the world that he gave to it his only begotten Son. God does love the real world, and those who perceive its reality cannot see the world of death, for death is not of the real world, in which everything reflects as eternal. God gave the real world in exchange for the one you made out of your split mind, and which is a symbol of death. For if you could really separate yourself from the mind of God, you would die. The world you perceive is a world of separation. Perhaps you are willing to accept even death to deny your Father. Yet he would not have it so, and so it is not so. You still believe, you still cannot will against him, and that is why you have no control over the world you made. It is not a world of will because it is governed by the desire to be unlike God, and this desire is not will. The world you made is therefore totally chaotic, governed by arbitrary and senseless laws, and without meaning of any kind. For it is made out of what you do not want, projected from your mind because you are afraid of it. Yet this world is only in the mind of its maker, along with his real salvation. Do not believe it is outside of yourself, for only by recognizing where it is will you gain control over it. For you do have control over your mind, since the mind is the mechanism of decision. If you recognize that all the attack you perceive is in your own mind and nowhere else, you will at last have placed its source, and where it begins, it must end. For in the same place also lies salvation. The altar of God, where Christ abideth, is there. You have defiled the altar, but not the world. Yet Christ has placed the atonement on the altar for you. Bring your perception of the world to this altar, for this is the altar of truth. There you will see your vision changed, and there you will learn to see it truly. From this place, where God and his Son dwell in peace, and where you are welcome, you will look out in peace and behold the world truly. Yet to find this place, you must relinquish your investment in the world as you project it, allowing the Holy Spirit to extend the real world to you from the altar of God. Same message as every other chapter. Bring your shit to the altar of God. Give it all to the Holy Spirit. Stop trying to chaperone God. That is literally what we do. All of our problems comes from trying to chaperone God. Literally, if you just, for the rest of the day, just notice, where do you say, God, move over? I know. We will find ourselves doing that all throughout the day. It's crazy. Fraser, go ahead.
On number 10 there, man, that really hit for me because, like, to perceive that all of your attack is in your mind, like, and that's the same place where the source of salvation lies. So what I find is, like, sometimes I'll have these thoughts that come up, like, oh, you don't deserve this, or you're not worthy of that, or, you know, and I have conversations with that side, and I call it my sub-personalities, and to be able to talk to it and say, no, I am worthy of this, I am worthy of this love, or possibility, or, you know, belief. It's actually, like, that really hit home for me.
Yeah. It is the insanity of the ego. And if we really look at the things that we get upset at and the things that we place our salvation into, we will realize how insane we really are. Because it contradicts itself everywhere. Remember I said in the of Wayne's World. Remember I said in the workbook, it says, you do not perceive your own best interests. Think about that for a second. Because if you said you do, all the conflicts in your life is because you wanted different things that are not congruent. You can think they are, but if you really put things into one piece at a time, oh, I want this to be this way, and then, oh, I want this to be that way. You demand different things, different things all the time. But I just feel this way. Okay, cool, great. But just know that you don't perceive your own best interest in any given moment because you have no idea. You can't judge it. See, that's where peace is going to abide, because you have to give that over to somebody. Where does your salvation lie? That's the question. Is it in myself figuring it out, or is it in the surrender to God? The altar that we have created, right? If this just happened this way, or if that just happened that way. Versus God's like, here's my altar. Bring your things to it. You bring it to it, and we will look upon the world together in peace. Do you want that or do you not want that? We're like, wait. Let me put this on my altar, and let me look at the world from my altar. That's what we do constantly. Right? The one need that we have is to reconnect with Source and reconnect with the divine. And the way we do that is shifting our perceptions. We have to, peace is the prerequisite, and peace is also the outcome. That's very interesting. Peace is the prerequisite of heaven, and in heaven, the outcome is peace. That means what? Choose peace? Choose love? The investment in reality. Which one? If the outcome is peace, then you bring peace. And then the law of giving and receiving and being and giving all becomes one. If you can unify giving and receiving, you would have unified your entire mind. As the moment giving and receiving stops being separate for you, cause and effect becomes one. Fear and love becomes one. That's the reality with capital R. Not in the choice of them. Not in choosing them. We're choosing which one's better. All right, Ken, go ahead.
Actually, it's Donna.
Donna. Hello.
I'm stealth today.
I like it.
I have a question because I'm struggling a little bit with the concept that all attacks are, in our minds. So, like, if somebody, let's just take the real example. Like, my mother used to call me every single day at work and say, if you have a relationship with your father, you cannot have one with me. Like, repeatedly, day in, day out, day in, day out. So, like, I'm just trying to figure out how this becomes my problem, like to solve, if you will.
Yeah, it is a tough one because it's the ego forcing choices again, right? The ego thinks, she thinks. See, if I don't perceive, first I have to recognize and become aware that if I don't perceive my own best interest, I don't perceive your best interest, nor do you perceive your best interest, right? So if love was speaking, right? If I was awake enough in that time, and I don't fear. See, the fear for you in that moment is, then I'm going to lose my mom. But nothing can be lost. In time, everyone comes around back to love. See, faith would be, I am going to have a relationship with both. Right? But you would need to be, it would take time. Right? Because, see, sometimes, I've seen where people are like, you can't be friends with this person, and you choose that, and then later on, they become friends. This used to happen in high school all the time. Stuff like that. Right?
Seriously happens later in life, too.
Yeah. It's just a different form. Right? And if we don't learn in the beginning of our sovereignty to make this decision and make the choice of love and peace, then the stakes get higher and the consequences get bigger. Now, they get higher and bigger, not in terms of like it's only bigger for us. The stakes become higher for us because it's designed for you to learn the lesson. And if you're like, I'm not doing it again, then it's going to be, okay, well, you're going to love something even more. And then we're going to get to that lesson. Right? You're going to give your salvation over to something else where it doesn't belong. And as we keep doing that, we try to control and grip and put God in our hands and put love in our hands. And we decide on what the outcome should be, what the process should be leading to that outcome. Man, that would be the fastest way for you to break your heart.
Yeah, so like if that kind of scenario is just stuck in my body and my mind, you know, like what does the Course in Miracles say about getting it out?
So you do not need to understand what that was for you. What you need to understand is that you can let go of that and give it over to God. And you don't need to shoulder that. You don't need to burden that, because you shouldering it, you'll just keep going back and forth and you will never find the peace around it. Because one day it's going to be this. It's like, oh yeah, that feels better. Then the next is going to be it again. And you're like, oh man, that feels like shit. You just got to give it completely over. Be like, yeah, I don't really know what it was all for, but whatever the choice that I made was actually, it serves best for all of humanity. Cool. Awesome. You take it. You show me what to do with it. I remove my attachment and my energy and my confusion around it. And it's going to take time for you to do that. And there will be a moment, because for some reason, if you hold on to it, it means you must still value that experience to justify some other things you're doing in life right now. And that thing is the identity of who Donna is. Oh, who am I if I didn't have that story? That was part of my story for so long.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so the value of this identity of me gets to be let go so that I can be expanded. So I can understand the capacity that I really am as a vessel, a vehicle for love.
Love it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And we all carry that. We all carry versions of that. The form looks different, but it's all the same thing. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. And the invitation on these calls is like, look, bring these things to the table. Don't be ashamed, and don't think you're going to be judged for it, right? Like, you are judging yourself much harsher than anyone else would judge you. You bring those things to the table so that we can offer it onto the altar, right? Whatever it is. Doesn't matter what people are going to think of you. It's going to be a great lesson for everyone. Like what Donna just shared right there is a vulnerable share, and she put herself out there. And this is a great lesson for all of us, So yeah, thank you. Anybody else? We are making like very good time. I feel like we went through a lot today in a very short time.
Hello, I could share.
Yes, please do. When's your birthday? Is it today?
It was Friday. Thank you so much.
Oh, happy birthday, belated.
Thank you.
Happy birthday.
Thank you, guys. It was amazing. Felt very full from all of that, and it's continuing. So, this was amazing. Like the whole call, I've just been like really, really tuned in. And when you started talking about this last reading that you did, it popped into my mind last night. So I come home, it's late, it's like midnight, my roommates are up, and they're giving me shit about something, like silly, right? Like we're joking and giving me a hard time about something. Me and all my ayahuasca, my plant medicine, making fun of me for that stuff. And And then I was giving them shit for like leaving the same dish in the sink for 3 days. And it just like made me realize like how unnecessary that was,
Yeah.
you know? Like I could have just been like giggling along with, whatever without having to like, have a comeback. Like, ooh, what can I get them for, So I just felt a huge shift in, how I can show up in relationships. And yeah, it's super beautiful. I really appreciate all of this. And for the last share, yeah, like I have a lot of stories about, family, like blood family. And I really appreciate the last share. And I'm sorry I didn't get her name. Who was talking?
It was Donna.
Thank you, Donna. Thank you, Donna, for your vulnerability and what you shared, because it hits home for me on I don't have much communication with my family, but in how that I think about them and how that I let, old stuff kind of write who I am in this moment. So yeah, I just want to, just it's so important, right? Like these vulnerable shares and this group and how we all connect. And so I'm really grateful. Thank you.
Thank you. Part of what we're doing here, like I feel like, yes, it takes courage to share, but that courage is what is going to create the safe space for each other, right? And when we realize, oh, the story I've been holding on to that I don't want to share, that's me holding that is how I imprison myself. So we learn not only to create safe space, but to receive safe space. And that's what we've been doing on these calls. And so thank you every person that has been sharing. And my invitation is like, as we learn these things, dig deeper, right? Dig deeper and allow the things that's been eating away at you to be brought to the surface so that it could be let go of. Search the places, search the shadows, and let's shine a light onto all that. So go ahead, Fraser.
I can hear what Lisa was saying and what Donna was saying, right, with family. My mom hasn't talked to me in years. She hasn't picked up the phone. I haven't either. But she doesn't want anything to do with me. Neither does my oldest sister. But I'm okay with it. For the longest time I wasn't. I was like, oh, this sucks, whatever. Had all these stories about it. I'm like, well, they just gotta live their life. They gotta live their life and they gotta be the love that they see themselves as. It's like I love them anyways. Doesn't matter. I still love them.
Yeah. I hear these types of things a lot, and it shows up a lot on these calls as well. And so thank you so much for sharing that. We can do something about it, right? Not that the Course says you need to do nothing. You need to actually just bring peace to your own mind. But we also can do something about it. We can still truly love without the energetic attachment of the stories next to it. I can still send a card. I can still send a text message as long as I do not require anything in return. I've sent it, and love, there goes love. I just sent love. I do not need anything in return. The moment you can do these types of things, that's how you practice love. Oh man, I'm sending this love out because I feel and experience love right now. The receiving and the giving is happening together. It already happened. I do not need to receive a text back. I do not need to hear, oh my God, I miss you, Fraser. And oh, we actually made a mistake. I don't need any of that. Right? Really, it's just, I sent out love. And in that sending out, the experience of love was in me, and that's enough. Can we do and practice doing everything in that way? So it's hard. We always want something in return. Can I just, the awareness and the presence of love in me, that is enough. That is everything that I wanted. And I can be so grateful as I send out a message to my mom or my sister that hasn't talked to me in a long time. You know? And let this moment, there is no accidents that we're talking about this with 22 people on this call. Perhaps each of us has an opportunity here. You know, I haven't talked to my sister or my mom in a little bit. And she actually messaged me twice and I got too busy and I didn't respond to her. And it's been on the back of my mind. So, yeah, I will give her a call after this. Thank you, Fraser. All right. We got a little more time. Anybody else would like to share anything? Is this a freaking best message from Marianne Williamson or what? I just flipped the book open. Shit you not. Lesson 303 or day 303. Today I pray for those who do not love me. Really? Really, Marianne? All right. Perhaps there is someone who does not understand me, who does not accept me, who does not love me. Let me not respond to their judgment with judgment. Today, I respond to their judgment with love. Whatever has so locked their heart that they cannot see into mine, may God free them. Whatever has wounded their souls that they cannot appreciate that I have wounds as well, may God heal them. Whatever fear so blinds them to love, may love yet be shown to them. Dear God, today I pray for someone who withholds their approval, their support, or their love from me. Send a miracle into my heart. May I rise above reaction or blame. Free us both to the love of each other that lies beyond this veil. Amen. That lies beyond this veil. Your relationship with your sister and your mom, there is a veil that you have and that they have as well. Amazing. Good share, bro. Good share. What should depressed nihilist do? Well, the question somebody asked from YouTube, the question is not about what they should do. The question is about what you should do. How do you send love? How do you send compassion? How do you bring the peace of God into your heart and into your mind to heal you and not them? Because you can't do anything about them, but you can still experience love rather than judgment for them. Because, remember, what is it that you want as your outcome? Right? If your outcome is peace, it's not going to be in me fixing this person or they behave some way differently. If you want peace, you will need to bring peace. And to bring peace is to let go of your turmoil and your judgments and your attacks and your guilts and your shames. Because if you're able to do this for this person, you will do it for yourself. We receive the blessings together. The blessings together. We receive the blessings together. Let's see. Who else? Lumix from YouTube. Good to have you here. All right. What else? So we got about 10 more minutes. Does anybody want to go into anything? We don't have to go any longer than we have to. I feel pretty complete, pretty excited to be back. You know, it's a week and a half of no ACIM. I was like, in a world of weird places.
Good to have you back, brother. Welcome. Thank you for your service. Beautiful meeting today.
'Twas a beautiful meeting. Thank you all for being here. Yeah, it feels like that was a really long time since our last call. Don't even know what we talked about.
But you brought the energy today, man. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. All right, well, who's coming to the live event in March?
Me.
Okay, yes.
I'll see you there, bro.
We're signed up and ready to rock.
Good. All right, Jessica, go ahead.
It's gonna be a giant family reunion.
I mean, where else can you see A Course in Miracles, real estate wealth investments, and personal development training in one place? Jeez.
And Jessica.
And Jessica.
Can't beat that.
Love you, man. I can't wait to hug all you next, man.
Yeah, I am like so souped. Gerald actually just came down to Vegas. We just hung out all yesterday with his son, and we're both so excited.
Response also from our gratitude community also. So seems like there's gonna be a lot of people from gratitude.
Oh, we'll see. I mean, people say yes, but until they're on paper, I cannot see who's coming and who's not coming. And we have a max capacity, which we are very close to. And Florida, March. It's a great time to be in Florida.
Oh, it's beautiful. The weather's beautiful down here right now.
I know. I actually should be in Florida right now.
I
Well,
know you bailed.
I bailed. I had an awakening. Yeah, and I'll share with you guys too my awakening. Like this, I've in my relationship with my wife. We're going through some stuff right now, but we're there's light right now in where we're at, so it's good. A week ago, there was no light, or at least I didn't perceive light. And I chose to go to Florida. I chose, in our whole relationship, I have put work, I have put, A Course in Miracles, I've put a lot of things in front of our relationship, and I didn't really realize I was doing that. I was like, oh, but wherever I go, I'm always just like sending her so much love and talking about her, but that's not the same thing as showing up, right? So on Sunday, I had this awakening that, wow, this is what I've been doing. And I booked a flight immediately, and she was coming back from Austin, and I wasn't going to be there again. And I decided I needed to be here. So I booked a flight back the night before she got back, and we've had just the most amazing time together. Like we haven't seen each other in a month. And yeah, and it's just been great. So I'm grateful that I'm here, and I missed everyone. I missing your birthday dinner, Lisa. I'll be there in spirit. Love you so much. But I will be back.
Thank you for sharing that, and thank you, brother. Thank you so much, bro. So happy for you guys, and way to
Yeah.
stay the course of love. Thank you, bro.
And I'm so grateful of the people that I did get to spend time with in the 2 days I was in Florida. I was gonna stay till tomorrow night, actually. Well, I feel really, really good. I'm glad to be back. And Jessica, were you about to say something, or did you say something already?
No, I'm just so grateful for you, for the space, and for this extended family that we have going on over here. Because when people ask me what am I doing on Sundays, I'm like, well, after church. I'm available after church. I've never known you to church. It's my own private church, But that's exactly what I consider. I consider this like my church, and it feeds my soul and gets me set up for the week. And I'm so glad a week from now I'm gonna be seeing your face up there.
Oh yeah,
Your message.
we're coming back. Palm Beach Gardens. Also, just so you guys know, I was in a very, very dark place. I had lost my restaurant. I had lost all my money, my house, everything. And I moved down, and I came down to Florida. And in this Palm Beach Gardens hotel room, I attended a personal development training called gratitude training. and it changed my life. So many different things happened in that room over a course of 6 months. It changed my life so much. And I began my A Course in Miracles journey as well during that time. So, this freaking room is, the portal is open in that room for me for sure. And guess where our event is going to be? March 6th to the 8th. Yeah.
That's Western.
The Best Western. They fully renovated it new, and it is, I feel like it's a very important moment in my life. Like full circling, you know? And I just feel like things are like really aligning. Like I'm doing what I'm meant to be doing.
Nice.
Yeah. So, okay. Hopefully I enrolled some of you guys that aren't going to go. It's important. If you want to go, let me know. All right. All right. I'm going to go make breakfast. Is that good? Is everyone good? Anyone still holding on to anything that they want to share? Or have we all become enlightened beings?
I love you. Enjoy your breakfast.
All right, all you enlightened beings, go out there and light up the world. And, start with your family. They're right there. The people closest to you. Don't go elsewhere. You just go work on that. And we're good. The people that are closest to you.
And also a little self hug, a little in the mirror, a little self love too for you too, your family too.
Yeah.
Yourself. Anyway, love you guys.
Love you all. Have an amazing day. Bye, everyone.
Happy birthday, Lisa. Bye.
Bye. Peace out. Thank you for joining all the people that are on live.